Welcome back to the COS Business Podcast. Today we have a very special guest. We have Mr. Levi Harris with Death Grip Mustache Wax. Thank you so much for coming on the show, man.
Thanks for having me, guys. It's an honor to be here, and I'm excited to just dive into things with you.
Yeah, so we were talking a little bit before the episode today and kind of how you got into your business. Tell us a little bit more about that, because you are from Colorado originally, Colorado Springs, it sounds like originally as well, right?
Yeah, Colorado native.
Yeah.
So love it here in the Springs. We're actually just up in Woodland Park now, so it's a short drive up the pass. But yeah, born and raised in the Springs. But yeah, the mustache, the business, the wax. For me, it started as a joke. So
Okay.
I think that's the best way to put it. I mean, I started growing a mustache during one of the No Shave Novembers, which now I know is really actually Movember. For those of you guys who don't know, Movember, it's a fundraising group for men's health, right?
Right.
Okay.
But yeah, I grew everything that I could at the time, and it was not much.
Right.
And so after November came to an end, I did what probably any other guy's done, and that's where you take the razor and you start taking portions off at a time.
Yeah.
So I took off the little bit of sideburns that I can grow, which is like 4 or 5 hairs on each side, and had the goatee for a minute. Then I did the Fu Manchu, and then cut everything but the mustache. And I looked in the mirror and I got a good laugh out of it. And I was like, man, if I'm laughing at this, I bet you somebody else will get a kick out of it. So I drove down to the Starbucks that my brother was working at the time. And as soon as I walked in that front door, him and the rest of his team started laughing. And it brought a smile to their face too. So I was like, yeah, I'll keep this and see what happens. And I went to work the next day, started so many conversations with other people that I never probably would have had. And most of them were positive. I think some people were like, "You really leaving that on your face?" And I was like, "Heck yeah, I am." Especially after you said that, I'm definitely leaving it.
Yeah, for sure.
So yeah, it started as a joke, and then I just rolled with it. And since then, I ended up acquiring Vintage Grooming, which is my parent company, and then Death Grip is my primary brand, which is my mustache wax line.
And now a word from our sponsors. Redefine Mortgages. Are you looking to keep your top talent happy and invested in your company? Redefine Mortgages understands that home ownership leads to higher employee satisfaction and retention. That's why their Mortgage Perks program is designed to assist your employees in securing the home they've always wanted. Their services stand out with 24/7 access to dedicated loan officers, personalized consultations, and savings up to $5,000 on home purchases through internal partners. Visit redefinemortgages.com/mortgage perks or call them at 719-413-5120.
Franchise Succeed.
Have you ever thought about scaling your business nationwide? They specialize in helping small to mid-sized businesses grow through franchising, offering a full range of services from legal and financial considerations to marketing and sales. With over 6 decades of experience, the team at Franchise Succeed has a unique perspective on franchising, offering tailored strategies for both new and existing franchisors. They'll guide you through every step of the franchise process. If you're ready to take your business to the next level, visit franchisesucceed.com to schedule a free consultation.
Dope Tees. Our next sponsor is Dope Tees.
What?
Yes, a brand that's all about elevating your wardrobe game. They're on a mission to provide dope clothing that not only looks killer, but also makes you feel like $1,000,000.
Ooh.
Their designs are fresh and their quality is top notch. And they're all about making a statement.
Mm-hmm.
We couldn't be happier to have them on board as a sponsor.
And we're pumped to see what new incredible things we're going to accomplish together.
That was pretty good. I was pretty enthusiastic. I'm not gonna lie. DOPETEEZ.biz.
Our next sponsor is
Pinnacle Advanced Primary Care. Imagine a healthcare experience that's truly tailored to your needs.
Let me imagine it. I got it.
Pinnacle Advanced Primary Care is revolutionizing the way we think about healthcare. Their model is straightforward. You pay monthly subscriptions directly to your primary care physician. This means no insurance companies or third-party players involved. Pinnacle believes in a healthcare system that's more personal, more accessible, and ultimately more effective.
That's pinnacleapc.com. Now, let's get back to the show.
So tell us a little bit more about, well, first and foremost, before all this, what year was it when you grew out your first mustache?
Wow. So first mustache, probably that would have been 2016.
Okay.
And that would, or, maybe it was November 2015. And then 2016, I kind of took it a little bit more seriously.
Yeah.
But But yeah, so I met the founders of Vintage Grooming, Megan and Durwood Wilhite, really early on. That would have been right at probably that same time, 2015.
Gotcha.
How'd you meet them?
So you guys probably heard of the Territory Days
Yeah.
street fair in Old
Mhm.
Colorado City.
Oh,
I was
yeah.
living in Old Colorado City at the time, so after I'd get off work, my wife and I would take a stroll down the fair and see what was going on. And they had a booth set up in Old Colorado City. And so I'm walking down the street and I hear, "Hey, nice mustache!" And I look over and it's Megan and Durwood had a beard down almost to his belly button at the time, and they dressed all vintage. And I walked over and, they introduced me to some of their products, and Death Grip was the mustache wax. So I immediately bought a tin of Death Grip because before then I couldn't really find any wax. I tried going to Walmart and
Mm-hmm.
Walgreens, and there really wasn't anything that you could buy. So I picked that up and started styling with it. And a year or two went by and really didn't have any more direct contact with them. But I was managing the Starbucks in Woodland Park at the time. And lo and behold, one day, still rocking the mustache, Megan and Durwood walk into my Starbucks, and I immediately recognized them because he had. I mean, like, you don't forget a guy like Durwood when you meet him. But they started spending 3, 4, 5 hours a day in my store because they had bought property out in the middle of Divide, which
Oh,
didn't
cool.
have great internet or potentially
Mhm.
any internet. So they were utilizing the internet at Starbucks to run the company. We started chatting here and there, and I did some photo shoots with them, and one thing led to another. And 2019 rolls around. They kind of ready to take their life in a different direction. Durwood's a musician, so he was really wanting to focus on his band. And I was ready. I had spent 10 years managing a Starbucks at the time, so I was really ready for kind of a change in
Mhm.
pace for myself and my family. And so they approached me. Were wanting to kind of move a different direction. I was wanting to move a different direction, and they actually approached me probably May of 2019, and we started negotiating. Things fell through, and it really didn't look like it was gonna work out. And my wife was also pregnant with my first child at the time,
Oh, wow.
and I was sitting in the hospital after my wife delivered my daughter, and I'm holding my baby girl, and I get this text message from Durwood, and he said, "Hey, you still interested in the company? I'd like to, kind of revisit that." And I didn't tell my wife at the time because just some things you just are more important than others, right?
Yeah.
But I did message him back, and we ended up meeting up a couple weeks later, and we were able to come to an agreement. And my daughter was born October 20th, and we closed on a deal November 19th of 2019.
Oh my
So
god.
it was pretty crazy timing, having a brand new kid, managing Starbucks, and then taking over a small business as well. It was a lot
Mhm.
at once.
Why do you think they reached out to you specifically?
Well, for one, they spent a lot of time in my Starbucks,
Right.
and for those of you that know, when you create something such as a company or a small business, you really get attached to it. And for them, they thought, it was almost like a third or a second child for them.
Yeah, yeah.
They said this is their baby, and they wanted to make sure it went to somebody who they felt would take it where they knew it could go.
Mhm.
Um, and they had spent, the last year and a half, 2 years, you know, with me at Starbucks, and I think we built a good relationship, during that time. And, they were able to see how I interacted with people. And,
Mhm.
um, they thought obviously I had the mustache, so
Good
Yeah.
spokesperson
that's
at
a good,
least.
yeah, that's a good piece of it as well. And so I think that really made a big difference. We really built a good relationship throughout the time that we shared at Starbucks with them coming in running things.
How often and how long would they spend at Starbucks? Was
Yeah,
it like
it
an all
was
day kind of
yeah, it
thing?
was like every day. I mean,
Really?
yeah, pretty much every day. I mean, there'd be days here and there that they wouldn't, but just about every day I was there, they were there. And so it was cool. I got to see kind of from behind the scenes, him building a website and,
Mhm.
writing blogs and, stuff like that. And so it was kind of cool to see what he was working on. And then, Megan was making all the product at the time. So she would tell me a little bit about, what the day was looking like making wax and stuff. And so, that was cool to see even ahead of time. I already knew a lot about the business and the company. And before we even closed on a deal, I kind of knew really well what I was getting myself into.
Yeah, that's so crazy. I was just thinking, so when you first took over this business, I'm assuming there's a lot of overlap managing a Starbucks and this at the same time, or
Yeah.
did you just jump full in and just
No, there was definitely a time. Now, Starbucks is a great company, and they had just introduced a paternity break. So as crazy as the timing was with me having a daughter, I also had 12 weeks of paternity break, and I think 6 of them were paid, and then 6 of them were unpaid. But nonetheless, it gave me that time to learn a little bit about the business, make the waxes, all that type of stuff. And then when I came back, that would have been early 2020.
Uh-huh.
When I first took over the company, I was running it out of my garage. So we were still making everything by hand pouring everything. Everything's hand labeled, all that type of stuff. And so I would do that on the weekends or on the after I got home from work. The nice thing with Starbucks, I'd go in real early, 5, 6 o'clock, and then I'd be done, by 2 or 3. So I'd still have like the afternoons to get work done. But there was a full year where I was doing both, where I was managing Starbucks and I was doing Death Grip on the side.
Gosh, that's so crazy. And so if, just for our audience who they've heard the name Death Grip quite a lot, and they probably get the gist that it is a wax as well. What other products do you offer with Death Grip?
Yeah, so I mean, we have a full line of men's grooming products. Our mustache waxes are our bread and butter. That's what we're known for. We've got literally the best mustache wax in the world, and we're number 1 seller on Amazon when it comes to our mustache wax.
That's awesome.
But we also have beard oils, beard balm. We have a shave soap, a shave oil. We offer different grooming tools such as combs and brushes, travel bags, different types of
That's awesome.
hats and shirts. So we have a full range of products.
Yeah. Did you have this in the beginning when you got the business handed over, or is this something that's come as you've almost had this business for almost 5 years?
Yeah.
Or 4 years now?
4 years now.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we just hit 4 years. So yeah, some of it was part of my acquisition with the company, and then we had one product in our Death Grip line, which was the original Death Grip wax. Since then, we've now launched 3 other Death Grip branded waxes, which we've named Bone Crusher, Sudden Death, and Bare Bones. And so those are my flagship products, and so it's a combination of the two. Some of them came with the company, and then I've developed and experimented with other products and launched them over the last 4 years.
Oh, awesome. And talk a little bit more about the quality, because I know the
Yeah.
quality is really, you said locally sourced,
Yep.
right? And you said that back in the day, the original owners, the wife was like making it,
Yeah.
and like talk a little bit more about that as well.
Yeah, so even to this day, we make everything in-house here in Woodland Park, Colorado. So that's
Awesome.
one thing that sets us apart from the other grooming companies out there that are maybe just outsourcing to some big, manufacturing facility.
And
But
white
yeah,
labeling.
yeah. So we're up in Woodland Park. We now actually have a facility. It's not open to the public, but it's where we manufacture all of our products. And so yeah, it's all natural, organic ingredients, made from scratch, mixed from scratch, poured, labeled. It's the highest quality that you're going to find in any men's grooming products.
That's awesome, man. Well, there's a lot to go with this brand, including lifestyle,
Yeah.
right? And so not only are you running a business, but you're like living the business.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of extracurricular things that you get involved in. I know before we talked, by the way, shout out to Nova, by the way, introducing us.
Yeah.
That was an awesome episode. And
Yeah.
he's like, you got to meet Levi. We connected right after the episode. He's really quick with his turnaround with getting people connected.
Right?
Yeah.
Nova's
But
awesome, man.
we were talking, and were you in Florida for some kind of like mustache world
Yeah.
record, or what was going on?
So actually,
Now a word from our sponsors.
Victory MMA.
Victory MMA isn't just about a gym. It's a community built on hard work and dedication. Their classes like jiu-jitsu focus on technique over brute force, making it accessible to everyone. Or if you're into striking, their kickboxing and boxing classes are top-notch, teaching everything from footwork to punches with precision and style. And the best part, they're currently offering a 1-week trial for just $20.
Really?
That's insane. That's actually a really good deal.
That's a great deal.
Yeah. Head over to ColoradoVictoryMMA.com to start your journey with Victory MMA today.
Epic Eyewear. Our next sponsor is Epic Eyewear, a remarkable veteran-owned brand that's revolutionizing the way we think about sunglasses. At Epic Eyewear, they believe that designer quality doesn't have to come with a hefty price tag. Their range of stylish, durable, and comfortable sunglasses is crafted to cater to all your needs. Each pair is a blend of contemporary design and practical features, ensuring you look good and your eyes are protected, no matter where your adventures take you. So, if you're in the market for a new pair of shades, remember Epic Eyewear. Check out their collection today and elevate your eyewear game.
Our next sponsor is Planet Duct. Did you know what's lurking in your air ducts can impact your health and wallet? Planet Duct, a leader in air duct cleaning, uses the most powerful vacuum trucks in Colorado to ensure your indoor air quality is top notch. They bring a whole new level of clean to your home or business, helping you enjoy lower utility bills, better respiratory health, and prevent damage to your HVAC system. And let's not forget about the dryer vent cleaning, essential for preventing fires and reducing drying times. Check them out at planetduct.com to learn more. Our next sponsor is Recon Marketing. They need
What does every business need, Andrew?
a bathroom.
And what else?
Marketing.
Digital marketing, right?
Right.
So let me tell you a little about Recon Marketing. We have around 30 years experience doing digital marketing. We offer paid search, paid social, SEO, web design, and we also have a new dashboard that we're offering our clients as well. All the data pull in there so our clients can check their data whenever they want. Did you know about that part? Find us at reconmarketingservices.com.
We went on with Nova in the springtime this last year. And then shortly after that, in June, we headed to Germany, where we did the World Bearded Mustache competitions. And it was a super cool experience because my dad's actually regrown his mustache, and he was able to come as a sponsored Death Grip ambassador for me, right?
That's awesome.
Me and my dad and Tim, who also works for me, and Tim's our bearded brother. He's got the beard, so he pulls a lot of the weight in that category. But yeah, we went to Germany. This was back in June, and we competed at the World Bearded Mustache competitions. We had several other people competing. Bob and Elliot Norris's mustache. He's TikTok famous and Instagram famous with his mustache styling with the products. But we went over there. We competed. We got a whole bunch of different content, and it was a cool experience because we ended up getting some content that we posted on our Instagram, which actually went viral, and we got 60+ million views on this one post, which really just skyrocketed our Instagram account. We had 8,000 followers going into that, and then coming out of that, we had 88,000. And then yeah, like we were talking right before this, just last month we were down in Florida, Daytona Beach, where two cool things happened. So first thing I'll tell you about is we set a Guinness Book of World Record official. So we did the world's longest mustache chain. So we actually stretched our mustaches out as far as they would go, and then we clipped them together, and we had 20 feet 4 inches of mustache chain. And it was actually sanctioned by Guinness. They're going through the official review process right now, and then we should be getting that actual Guinness Book of World Record here shortly.
That's awesome. Is that going to be placard in the warehouse?
Yeah. So we actually have a banner from when we did it that so we partnered with the USA beard team and the National Bearded Mustache competitions, and they created a banner just in case we were able to set the record, which we did, and then they auctioned that off, and we were able to win the auction of that banner, and it's now hanging in our HQ, which is pretty cool.
So now that you've competed, I guess globally, like now that you've been able to scope out at least Europe, like who grows the best mustache? Really, is it the U.S.?
Well,
is it Europe, or
it's very different. So the U.S. really it excels on what U.S. is known for: big mustaches, and so we have. I mean, I'm partial to the U.S. mustaches, but you know, we've got brothers in the death. We have what's called the Death Grip Brotherhood, and that's anybody with a mustache that wants to connect with us on social media, and we share their photos and they share ours, and we got brothers all over the world. But yeah, it's different. When we were competing in Germany, there's an imperial mustache category, which the imperial is a neat and tidy mustache, but in Europe, they like to really go straight out, fan it, and then come to kind of like tips. Where mine's much more American kind of cowboy style, where it kind of flows the natural way and curves up. So there can be a little little difference in what judges think depending on where you're at in the world. But more than anything, these events are really about raising money for charity, getting a central location where everybody can go and hang out and just have a good time.
I remember being in downtown Colorado Springs several years ago, and they'd said something about some mustache brotherhood. And I'm curious now whether that was like the group you're associated with.
Yeah.
But I never heard like brotherhood and mustaches ever put together in my entire life, or that you had like a club that did that.
Yeah.
It was really cool. And I don't know, is there a lot of that in the United States or in Colorado specifically, like different types of mustache clubs or anything like that?
Yeah, yeah. So I mean, what we've got is a Death Grip Brotherhood, and it kind of started when me and Bob first. I was creating a new wax called Sudden Death, and Bob had been growing a yeard, which is when you grow your beard out for a year.
Okay.
And we were coming. It was coming up to November, and he was kind of thinking he might shave off his mustache or shave off his beard and leave just the mustache. So I reached out to him. I was like, "Man, if you do that, let me know. I got this new wax I'm working on. I'd love to have you help me test it out." And so he ended up shaving his beard, and then I sent him some of this wax, which I hadn't actually even released yet. It turned out to be Sudden Death, and he ended up styling with it and won first place in that year's National Beard and Mustache competitions, which was online that year because of COVID. But it was online. And so when that happened, we kind of thought something cool was happening, and that's kind of how the Death Grip Brotherhood was made, because then we got all sorts of people on Instagram and TikTok and Facebook and the different social medias who were wanting to style their mustache and kind of show off the product and stuff like that. So that's kind of how it was built. And it's just been a cool community because we've met so many different people, lots of different small businesses that, have been able to do different stuff. I mean, I connected with a guy who then made us a hat in his small business for this last
Oh, that's awesome.
tournament. And then, different video projects. It's just a cool thing to be able to meet new people. And the mustache is always a conversation piece. No
Oh,
matter where
yeah.
you go, somebody's always saying, "Oh man, dude, I love that mustache." you know? So it opens up conversations you never would have had.
That's awesome. Well, I know, let's rewind you first and foremost because you bought this business
Yeah.
back in 2019. Obviously, we all know what happened in March 2020. That's very new into your business.
Yeah.
You are taking business ownership for the first time. It sounds like you were managing a Starbucks. You
Yeah.
had some level of like leadership and like, I guess, operations
Yeah.
background. But like, first question is like, how did Starbucks help you take on as a business, put that hat as a business owner on? And then two, how did that first year go with COVID?
Yeah. 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 I mean, honestly, Starbucks was a great experience because you have the ability to work with people. So not only from a management and kind of like a boss perspective, but also just one-on-one interactions with your customers and your community every day. So being able to talk to people and being able to introduce yourself and learn something about whoever you're talking to, that goes so far in any small business. Starbucks has done a great job in facilitating the third place, and so bringing about a community. And so that's another thing that I was able to learn when I was doing that and implement it into my own business. Obviously, different things like inventory management, profit and loss, different stuff like that is all beneficial. So really, really important to be able to take that experience
Mhm.
and then implement it into my own company. Um, and it's really cool because you know obviously when you're in a giant corporation such as Starbucks, you can't really have the autonomy to do whatever you want,
Mm-hmm.
right? You got to play by the rules in the book, which is good. You see there's a
Yeah.
reason for that. But it's pretty cool in the startup phase and that growth phase that we've been in over the last 4 years to really have no leash and just be able to say, okay, here's an idea I have. I'm going to take this idea and I'm going to turn it into a reality. And then to watch that process as you do it and see the results and see the different people that you've connected with along the way. And then it's really cool because like another cool thing about the mustache, right? is a lot of people have a similar story where it starts as a joke, but there's another similar story that a lot of people have too, and that's where it boosts their confidence because you may not necessarily have extreme confidence, but when you have your mustache, there's just something different, and you are forced into conversations with people because you walk into a room with a big mustache and handlebars. You're probably the only person in that room that has that.
Mm-hmm.
And so automatically, people see you, people notice something different about you. And I don't know how many guys I've talked to that have been like, yeah, man, I grew my mustache. I got a raise at work. I got a girlfriend, all these positive things were happening in their lives. So it's one of the cool things that we play off of, and it's real stories. It's not some made up thing, but these are like real people that are telling me this, and they're just like, man, I'm never gonna shave my mustache because I don't even know what I'd do without it.
I think men's grooming has, and you probably know this better than me, but I feel like there's been like an uptick in like men's grooming. We've always wanted to look a certain way, and like self-confidence is built off of looking good.
Sure.
But there has definitely been like a movement, especially like amongst millennials and maybe even
Sure.
younger, about mustaches. Do you see that in your industry too? Is a lot, and again, like I'm sure there's a lot of older folks who love the mustache too. It's kind
For
of
sure.
intergenerational, but yeah, how has that been? Being a business owner and seeing the other generations adopt it. Is there an uptick in that? Or
Yeah. So kind of, I probably didn't answer your last question quite detailed as far as COVID, right?
Right.
So I took over 2019, March 2020, COVID kind of hits, everything started shutting down. But it was like perfect for me because I was like so on fire to make this thing grow. So I'm like doing extra marketing and
Mm-hmm.
like, running new different video ads that were just getting
Oof.
introduced and stuff like that. And everybody else was like, "Oh, I don't know what to do." And so it seemed like everybody else was taking their foot off the gas. And then on top of that, something happened that I couldn't have predicted. I don't think anybody could have, but everybody was having to wear masks, right? And I'm like, "Oh, everybody's going to shave off their mustaches if they have to wear a mask." But the opposite happened. And like people had the confidence to grow the mustache, and people were growing COVID mustaches. And I have several people who said they started growing their mustache during COVID, and it was funny because like they would be wearing the mask, and then finally when you didn't have to wear a mask anymore, they took it off, and people were like, "What? Wait a minute, where did that mustache come
Oh
from?"
yeah.
And so it was unique timing for sure. But I don't know if that answered that question a little bit better.
What about how did the movie Top Gun Maverick do for
Yeah,
sales?
no, Top Gun is a good movie. It
Good question.
definitely got some good publicity around the mustache.
Yeah.
That's a little bit different than what we're kind of showing off within Death
For
Grip.
sure, yeah.
But we love all mustaches.
I
Like
think it
little
helped the
mustaches.
mustaches
Oh,
become more
100%.
popular. I mean,
Yeah.
I've noticed that in the last year or so, like mustaches have seemed to have a comeback
Yeah.
in a way. And I don't know if you guys can see that with sales or anything.
Oh
Do you have
yeah,
any data to back that up? But I think
yeah.
Maverick may have been part of that contribution.
it doesn't hurt. Like
Yeah.
whenever you get a top grossing movie like that, and
Yeah.
then the main character's got a mustache,
Yeah.
it's a good thing, right?
Yeah. For your business, for sure.
Exactly. But yeah, we definitely, I mean, we've been doing this since vintage grooming since 2014, and so we're not new to mustaches.
For sure, yeah.
And so there's one thing like trends come and go, but vintage lives forever. That was one of the original slogans that Durwood had.
I like that.
And I think that
That's
lives
good.
true with the mustaches, where mustaches never truly went anywhere. But I think that, they may have gotten some interesting raps back in the 80s and 90s and,
Mhm.
whatever. But now they're cool. Like it's cool to walk around with a mustache.
Mhm.
So true. We have good friends who've been on the show before. I was telling him when he walked up that Inherent Clothing. He looks like he was
Oh, yeah.
associated with our friends from Inherent Clothing because they're all into the men's grooming. It's
Mhm.
all about the tailored suits. They also do. Don't they have like a barber shop in there as
They
well?
do, and the confidence boost that what they
Yeah.
incognito or there's a scientific term for it, I forget what it is,
But-
and I forget what it is. Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, boost your confidence a little bit.
Yeah.
100%. Well, so I mean, most everybody's probably heard of that book that says, make your bed in the morning if you want to be successful or whatever.
By Marine or
Yeah, like
someone-
right. I mean, that's cool. I'm not a huge fan of that. Like, I don't really care about my bed that much, but style your mustache. That's going to give you the confidence you need to go out and win the day. And I think that translates even better. You look good,
Yeah.
you feel good, you got that confidence to go take on whatever the world's throwing at you. And, the mustaches are vintage, right? Like we think of the early 1900s. And a lot of the men that maybe rocked a mustache, you got like Wyatt Earp and, different people throughout history that had a great mustache. And the other thing, it was when you think about that time, you think about the men and how they dressed, right? They put on the nice suit and tie, or they really seem to care a little bit about how they presented themselves to the world. And I think that's cool to see kind of coming back with the mustache.
Yeah. Well, we also had an opposite because we had James Proby on our show, and he runs the Men's Exchange. I love that. It's a great men's clothing store, recycle clothing. Great mission behind the whole thing. But he actually took the other side of like how the younger generation doesn't like to dress as nice now, or maybe more specifically Colorado Springs. It might be the same Woodland Park. Like this is like dressed up in Colorado Springs with a polo. And
Right.
I feel like dressing nice and a mustache, they kind of go hand in hand, like you were saying. What are your thoughts on that as far as younger generation? Are you seeing that, or are you seeing the opposite? Like,
Nah, so I mean, the great thing about the mustache is it dresses you up no matter what you're wearing. So
true.
like the mustache is the masterpiece, and then the clothes is just the kind of like the side piece. But in a lot of these competitions and stuff, it's cool because like everybody will probably be wearing some sort of a nice suit and tie or something, because it completes the look. But yeah, it's one of those things where I think there's kind of like a catch, or not a catch 22, but there's both sides of the coin there where, a lot of time, you may be working from home half the time nowadays, where before you were always going into an office or something. And as a younger generation, I think we see that, and we see that you get to do whatever you really want to do. And so if you want to dress up and you look good. And if you want to be comfortable and casual, then you just be comfortable and casual. But I think you see both. Like you definitely see that with the mustache, it encourages you to spend a little bit more time on the way that you're looking, and you may end up dressing up a little bit more.
yeah. Well, you have a family, right?
Yes,
So
sir.
you started this in the wake of having your daughter, you said.
Yep.
What is the whole family? Let's start with the wife. What does the wife think about, you're 4 years into this business?
Yeah.
What was her adoption into this brand as well?
Yeah. Well, she's my best business partner when it comes to it. I think that she's always thought I've been a little bit crazy, which is true, but she's very supportive of it, and that's what's really big. And we have my daughter; she just turned 4. My son is turning 2 on Saturday coming up. So
Congratulations. Yeah.
it keeps us busy. The business, it's awesome because it's given me the freedom to build my own schedule, to work from wherever I want, whenever I want. But there's also that catch-22, because there's always something you can be doing. There's always another message you can send. There's always another product you can be developing. There's always more product that needs to be made. And so, it can be difficult to balance all of that. And when it was in my garage, there's positives and negatives of that too. Again, like I can go in and I can work whenever right there, or not. It's been nice to have a little bit more separation of home and business, having a actual facility where, I've got, 3 employees here in Woodland Park that help me out with things. And that's been super nice to be able to have a little bit more separation of going in and getting some work done, and then coming home and trying to be more present with the family when I'm with the family. But she's super supportive of it, and she loves to see when I'm passionate about something. And that's one of the things that I really appreciate about my wife.
Now, when you first grew out this mustache, were you married already?
Oh,
or-
yes. Yeah, already married. So at that point, she had no choice.
I was gonna say, what was her initial thoughts on the mustache then? Was she like, what the heck? Or was she like, okay?
I mean, I like to have a good time. And like I said, when I first grew out my mustache, it made me smile. And when I'm smiling, somebody else is going to be smiling. And so in that sense, she was very, very supportive of it. She always has been my biggest supporter when it comes to whatever I'm doing, whether it's the mustache, the business, or different business ventures that I end up getting myself into.
Man, so you said other business ventures. Okay, so you've been doing this for 4 years
Yeah.
now. You've built one heck of a brand. It's so cool to see, like you said, 8,000 to 80,000. That is awesome.
Yeah.
What would stick with Death Grip for the time period. But what's the next couple years look like for Death Grip? If everything goes the way that you want,
Yeah.
what is the future, the immediate future for Death Grip?
Yeah. I mean, we want to dominate the mustache space.
Mhm.
I've grown up in sports. I, played a little college basketball growing up.
Oh,
So
what? Cool.
the competitive side of me is I always want to go, I want to dominate. So the mustache is our focus. We're expanding globally. So over the last year, we've gotten to Canada and the UK, those two markets, and we're in the process of getting into the EU. Which has been a huge feat. There's a lot of different regulations that go around getting a topical cosmetic into the EU. They treat a topical cosmetic almost like we would treat a food item.
Yeah.
And so
Yeah.
you got to have all your ducks in a row as far as your good manufacturing practices. You got to have product stability testing. You got to have documentation of all your ingredients, of where you're sourcing them from. They got to all be tested and just there's a lot to it. And so we're finally in the place where we now have our own facility where we're making our products, where we're working towards that good manufacturing procedures. And once we get that, we've checked off a whole bunch of others, dots as far as product stability testing was a huge thing that we accomplished
Man.
last year.
Yeah.
But yeah, so that's our biggest goal right now is expanding globally. The cool thing about the world that we're living in right now is, from our pocket, we can connect with
Mhm.
somebody that's across anywhere in the world. And what we found is that there's people all over the world that just connect with mustaches and they want to be part of the Death Grip Brotherhood. So we're really working hard to make our products available to our brothers around the world. We do ship globally, but it's a little bit difficult when you're shipping globally
Mhm.
because people end up paying more in shipping than the
Yeah.
cost of the actual mustache
Right.
wax. And so by utilizing Amazon and different fulfillment methods across the globe, we're going to be able to get into the EU and then hopefully other countries around the world. So that's our biggest focus right now. We're always working on product development and coming out with new products. We've got a really cool product line that's getting ready to launch this coming year. And I can tell you right now a little bit about that. So it's around our shave line.
Cool.
But I can't give you too many details yet, just because we're in the process of trademarking and really getting everything ready for launch.
I love the men's grooming line and industry. I think that sponsorships has been really big in the podcast space for men's grooming. You got Manscaped. You have so many
Yeah,
different ones like
yeah,
Dollar
yeah,
Shave
yeah.
Club and all that stuff. Have you ever thought about that as a possible advertising channel for you,
Yeah,
sponsoring
yeah,
podcasts?
yeah,
I'm not saying
for
ours. I'm just
sure,
saying
for
in
sure.
general.
Yeah, well, so I mean, we already have some different sponsorship opportunities that
Yeah.
we've done over the last year. So Chance Shot, he's a professional bull rider. He was actually at one point the number one bull rider in the world.
Wow.
And he happens to grow a mustache and used our wax, so we were able to work with him on a little sponsorship deal. We're still a small business at this point.
Mhm.
There's a catch-22. So a mustache is a very niche
Mhm.
like facial piece, but also a niche product for people to sell or people
Mhm.
to purchase. So, as we start getting into other products that are more widely consumable,
Mhm.
body washes, shave lines, all sorts of different ideas that we have, it then opens up our marketing to a wider audience.
Mhm.
And when you're doing something like a podcast, that's really beneficial if you're selling something that's like a consumable for everybody.
For sure.
Right.
Yeah.
When it's a mustache, you want to be able to direct that to somebody who's interested in a mustache. And there are ways to market that nowadays,
Mhm.
but that's not necessarily like a podcast wouldn't necessarily be the ultimate way to do that. Unless it was a podcast where everybody was focused on mustaches or facial hair.
Mhm.
Or men, right? If it was your demographic, you'd hit a lot of people with that. So it's not always a
Yeah,
bad
yeah.
thing. And anytime you can be a sponsor, if you can make it make sense, you go for it. But there's a saying: if it don't make dollars, it don't make sense. So
Yeah,
you gotta make sure you're staying profitable when you're running a business.
Yeah.
So here's a podcast idea for you guys to start. You can be like, title the podcast, I Must Ask You a Question.
I like it. I like it.
We must ask you a
It's gonna
question.
come
And you
out.
guys can create your own podcast and just interview people with mustaches,
I see.
essentially.
I think that's a great idea. We're
Yeah.
we're gonna figure out a way to make that happen.
For sure.
Well, it's kind of cool because we have another person, and you might already know them because they're in Woodland Park. Have you heard of Sheath Underwear?
Yeah,
before?
yeah.
They sponsored this
I'm
podcast
actually
before.
wearing my sheath underwear right now.
Me
Are
too.
you?
Me too. Shout out Sheath Underwear. A little free shout out there. That's awesome. I think they would be a good some partnership with you guys.
Yeah, Sheath is huge in the UFC community,
Yeah.
Mhm.
and we've got a couple of guys that are fighters. Javier Garcia, he's a up and coming fighter in the UFC, and he's rocking the
What?
mustache.
That's
Sheath,
awesome.
Sheath sponsors Javier, and we also sponsor Javier, so it's kind of cool to see that. Actually, just got introduced to a bare knuckle boxer
Yeah.
named Kai, and he just won the lightweight bare knuckle boxing in Utah this last week. So shout out to you, Kai. Congratulations on that. But he's got the mustache. Another
That's dope.
fighter, Joey Ledeen from Montana.
Yeah.
He does all sorts of fighting, MMA, kickboxing.
Uh-huh.
But yeah, so it's cool to see other brands like Sheath. And again, Sheath's also in Woodland Park. I actually just did a shout out on my Instagram for him because
Really?
I wanted to share their products with people.
That's
Yeah,
awesome.
they're
Have you met
awesome.
them in person?
I haven't actually.
This guy. He'll help
I'm
link you
going
up.
to. It was one of those things where you I don't know. It's weird where like for instance like Pikes Peak, right? We got Pikes Peak right here, and I didn't even go up to the top of it for like the first half of my life. I'm like, why haven't I been up to the top of Pikes Peak? And
Yeah.
it's like one of those things where it's like right there.
Yeah, yeah.
But I'm definitely want to meet up with Sheath and get to know them better.
Yeah, I could do an introduction, a connection with you guys.
I would appreciate
Yeah,
that.
Bobby's awesome. We're actually in a competition with him to get to 1,000 subscribers on YouTube first.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
That's awesome. So where
I think
are
we're-
you at right
We're
now?
at 736 right now. I
and
think.
do you know
Yeah.
where he's at?
I think he's in the 500s maybe.
Yeah,
Okay.
we're ahead of him a little
Okay.
bit for
Well,
sure.
Yeah. When it's for his podcast specifically,
Right.
Sheath's channel
Oh,
actually
yeah.
has a bigger following.
Bigger fault,
Yeah.
right? Yeah, that's
Yeah.
cool. That's cool.
Yeah.
Super cool.
Yeah, it's really cool to see you guys branch out and sponsor these specific athletes and stuff like that. I just think it's the coolest thing,
Yeah.
like ever.
Yeah,
man.
I think, I would love to get to a place where, we're doing the type of revenue where we can really sponsor some of these guys. I mean, like
Mhm.
almost like a Red Bull or a Monster, where
Yeah.
you see them and they're partnering with these extreme sports and stuff like that. And I think the mustache, it adds so much branding to the guys that are doing these type of things where people recognize them, and you start to get known as the mustache guy. So I think it creates a lot of cool opportunities coming up.
Yeah, they're not wearing a helmet like football. So
Exactly,
it's like
right?
super easy, like someone
Exactly.
fighting with the
The
mustache.
the fighting stuff is amazing. Brennan Kelly, the American Ninja, he's another guy who represents Death Grip, and we've been able to do some sponsorships with him. And he's doing a what is it? It's a influencers fight league, which is coming up. He's actually got a fight this coming weekend down in Florida. So it's cool to be a part of.
That's so cool, man. Well, we did some homework on your Instagram. We see all the people tagging you all around the world. It's so cool to see. Have you, I mean, gosh, you don't even have to do product placement for it because it's just anybody with a mustache on top of a mountain or whatever. What do you like to do in your free time? And have you, like, say you like to hike?
Yeah.
Have you taken pictures with you with the mustache, like on top of Pikes Peak? Like, have you gotten creative with the marketing on that front?
Yeah, for sure. So I mean, I've got 2 little kids, so spending time with them is number one. But we love to get out, and Colorado's one of the most beautiful places in the country, maybe even the world. And so just getting out and hiking, camping, fishing, hunting,
Oh, cool.
doing any type of outdoor activity is what I would really enjoy, and bringing my family along with me. But yeah, I love to test the wax, and so putting it on and then going snowboarding, right?
Okay.
Seeing how does this wax hold up through a day of snowboarding, and it's pretty cool to kind of do that before shot and then the after shot, or I got an old International Scout that has the top off, so it's like hey, windows down, tops off.
Yes, I was
we're gonna
thinking.
take this. We're gonna take it up the pass or something, and see what happens. And it's super fun to do that type of stuff. And
Like skydiving would be a good one too.
I actually,
because-
so there's the indoor skydiving in just up north, Colorado Springs. What is
I
it?
fly.
Yes,
Mhm.
and I did that with my brother and my brother-in-law in September. And it was great because the guy had been jumping for like 20 years. He's like the world champion skydiver,
Yeah.
and we're getting ready to do the jump, and he's like, well, your mustache not gonna look good after this. And we jump in, and then we jump out, and he was like, what? How in the world? And so I've got that content that I'm
that's
putting
good.
together.
That's
It was
cool.
pretty cool. And then Bob and Elliot Norris, his mustache, he's done a jump with the Golden Knights, and he
that's
actually
cool.
skydived, and he's they got the video of him landing, and he's like, how's the mustache look? And it's like, man, it's perfect. So we got this world's strongest mustache wax, so it's gonna hold up for anything.
That's
Mhm.
awesome. I mean, the marketing opportunities are endless.
Oh,
You
yes.
got
yeah.
fighters, you got
Yes.
bull riders, you got skydivers. I mean,
Yes.
like you
Mhm.
can have some really fun content.
We do. It's a blast.
That's awesome. And so with the marketing front, like, is there just a lot of people who just like tag you all the like? How is the brand? Because I do a tiny house festival, so like
Yeah.
it's almost endless with the amount of things I get tagged in, which is awesome. It's
Yeah.
cool. But I'm assuming it's pretty similar to you two, where a lot of folks probably tag you with the wax, and do you get a lot of that?
Yeah, a ton of it. So I mean, we like I said, we've grown our Instagram. I think since that trip, we've got to 88, and then when we went to Florida, we had another video that went viral and had like 13.5 million views, and we're up to 101 Instagram followers now. So it's a really cool thing because when you have influence and following, and then you've got somebody who maybe just bought your product and they're trying it out, and they tag you. It's really cool for them to see us share their photo and help them get some more reach with their account too. But Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, all those social media accounts are so good for sharing what you're doing with your product, with your business, and people are tagging us, and then we're sharing their photos, and then it's just a really cool thing. We've actually then incorporated different collaborations with people who have tagged us, where we've partnered with a guy named Eli, who's a metal worker, does jewelry and different stuff, and he made us a custom Death Grip lighter with a little pocket comb that flips out of
That's
it.
cool.
Nice.
And I've got connected with this company called Into the Fire. They made the same rings that they used in the new Amazon Rings of Power TV series.
Yeah.
Oh,
Lord of the
And
Rings.
they actually made a Death Grip mustache skull ring for me.
Nice.
And then kind of they shared their post, and we share their post, and so it's really cool.
Yeah, that's cool. I think that which is really interesting because I'm just analyzing you as you're talking right now, and it's really cool to see because a lot of the entrepreneurs we have on our show also talk about the hardships, and it feels like you've been very open arms about the hardships. But you're 4 years in, so
Yeah.
you've been through some things. You've 4 years into your business,
Yeah.
but you're still very new into this as well.
For sure.
And you're talking about like R&D and like new products and getting into new markets. I mean, I always think of like entrepreneurship as like you're always learning a new skill
Yeah.
all the time.
Yeah.
When you elevate, you're learning new things, how to be a leader, how to break into this market. And it's really it's like the toughest thing I can imagine to do because everything is new every time.
Yeah.
You're never in a place where you're like, I know everything, unless you want to be stagnant, and that's
Right.
fine. But
Right.
it sounds like you're in a mindset of growth. So how has that whole process been for you for the past 4 years? It's kind of cool to see how positive you are, but I'm sure there's been some hardships with that as well.
Yeah, 100%. So the funny thing is, especially in the world that we live in with social media, and you're always putting your best face forward, right? But there's a lot of stuff that goes behind the scenes that people don't see, and those are the challenging things. It really comes, in my personal opinion, it comes down to discipline. When you are able to do what's needed to be done, when you don't want to do it, when there's 10 other fires that are also needing to get put out, when you got sicknesses that are going around with yourself or your employees or whatever, you got stuff that needs to get made, that if you don't figure out a way to do it, it's not going to get done. But yeah, it's challenging. For me personally, there's several aspects of it. So number one, I'm a man of faith. So I believe that we have a greater purpose than ourselves. And our mission at Death Grip is to inspire men to live with purpose, and they're in constant pursuit of their true potential. And so during those times when you have a problem that seems to not have a solution, those are the things that I like to lean on. Our mission and our values. So our values are love, loyalty, humility, creativity, and respect. And so I think for any entrepreneur who's considering starting a business, what's your why behind it? Because there are going to be days where you don't feel like doing it. There are going to be days where everything you try seems to go wrong. And there are, quite frankly, going to be days where you're not motivated and you don't have the confidence to go out there and do what needs to be done. But the job has to get done anyway. And so having a mission, having a set of values, I think that's one of the most important things for a growing company. Because whenever those times come up, you can go back to those mission and those values. And I think that's what can help you get across that particular challenge.
How did you know to do that?
Well, we shout out to my mom. So
Nice.
There we go.
My mom and my dad are the coolest guys out there, guy and gal. But yeah, we were homeschooled growing up. So we've always been encouraged to pursue our endeavors. We've always been, I guess you would say, encouraged to try things, and no matter the outcome, ultimately, you're still going to be loved. And I think that's really big. So I've got an unfair advantage that a lot of people don't have, and that I would attribute to my upbringing. When it comes to the actual formulation of mission and values, it's surrounding yourself with the right people. And we live in the digital age, right? YouTube it. What's a mission? What's values? Look at different companies that are doing what you aspire to do, right? So, there's a company in St. Louis called First Form, and the CEO, well, I don't think he's the CEO anymore. He's the president, I guess. Andy, don't get mad at me if you're watching this, but anyway, Andy Frisella. And Sal Frisella, and they got their own. Andy's got his podcast, The Real AF. That's huge.
He's just really good about sales too.
Lots of really good info. So like we're living in a time where it's not a secret, and so if you want to be successful, the resources, the tools are out there, and most of the time they're free. Quite honestly, if somebody's charging you for them nowadays, it may not be the best choice. Alex Hermosi, he just launched a full course on business and trying to help small businesses get to that next level. So there's all sorts of resources out there that are going to help small businesses do what they need to do. But there's still work that has to be done. So like you can have all the resources, you can have the map in front of you, but if you don't take that first step and the next step after that, you're never going to get where you need to go.
And lots of work, not just a little bit, a lot of work.
And I think anything worth doing is gonna be hard, and it's just one of those things in life. Marriage, it's hard, but it's so worth doing. Having kids, that's a hard thing, but man, there's nothing more rewarding and nothing that will bring you more joy than having your kids, and being able to do life with them. Again, it's a business. It's hard, but it's worth doing.
Yeah, and it's so hard to describe if you don't own a business too. It's like I always tell people, like business, like if you probably could put in words how hard it actually is, a lot of people probably wouldn't start in the first place. But it's not like that. It's so worth it. Like the value you get when you do accomplish things is such a beautiful thing. I don't know if you follow Patrick Bet-David, if you know who he is, but he has a new book that's out, and he was talking about like the greats. They always have like the greatest, like like the Michael Jordans or the Tom Brady's. They have some source of a person or something that loves them no matter what.
Yes.
That loves them no matter. They can jack up anything in the world.
Yeah.
And they can always go back to whoever that is. It could be a mom, it could be a friend, it could be a dad, it could be whomever, and they'll love them no matter what. But they also have a person that no matter what, they can never fully satisfy or please. And you got like you get the people, if you think about Michael Jordan or Tom Brady, they always have a chip on their back about like, they're making someone their enemy because they might have wronged them, but they didn't wrong them that bad. But anyways, they're their enemy, and it motivates them to be the best of what they can be. And I don't know if you ever had that before. I've had instances now as I've kind of progressed in my business journey that I can be like, okay, that motivates me to be better. Or this person's no longer with me or whatever it might be.
Yeah.
But I always thought that was super. I didn't know if you had a take on that or
Yeah,
anything.
yeah. It's interesting. Of course I've listened to all those different takes, and using your anger, to motivate you or to do something. I mean, that's a great thing if you can do that. I can't say that that's been my source
Mhm.
of success, or that I've really drawn from that. Um, I don't I don't necessarily think that it's absolute, like, you
Necessary.
have to have it.
Yeah.
But then again, I'm not Andy Frisella,
Yeah.
I'm
That guy's
I'm no, I'm not at that level, and quite frankly, you may need it to get to that level. Because, you know, there's different steps along that growth, and yeah, it's definitely something I think about for sure. But I don't know. I've always tried to um learn from those type of people, or those type of things.
Mhm.
And I think that maybe you can do it and still, have that anger, but for me, I don't know. I would rather just be focused on the positives,
Mm-hmm.
and just, lean on that. But I don't know.
Yeah, it's an interesting
Yeah,
topic for
it's very
sure.
interesting. It's very
Well, you're a man
interesting.
of faith too, and I feel like no matter what, like for me, anybody's ever harmed me in my life, I end up forgiving,
Yeah,
for
yeah,
whatever reason, and just wishing them the best
yeah,
for whatever it might be. I think anger, one, it's a secondary emotion,
yeah.
so it's not something you get mad right away about. Something you first get scared or startled, and then like surprised, and then you're angry. But anger is usually like a short term type of thing, anyways.
It should be. It should be.
Exactly.
Mhm.
Yeah.
I think that's, if it's not, then I think that that's where you can dig deep and start to see that maybe some changes need to happen, because you're right. Anger is something that it's valuable. Like, God created us to have all our emotions, and anger is one of them.
Right.
Um, but I think that when you're thinking about what we're truly getting angry about,
Mm.
that's what would separate it. So, there's evil, and there are things that you truly should be angry about. But then there's also just, somebody that maybe took something that you felt like you were going after, or something like that. Or
Mhm.
I don't know. I feel like there's different elements, and one of them, you're probably still going to feel anger, whether it's a super serious thing that maybe really needs to be, or it warrants it.
Sure.
But we're all human. Like, we're gonna feel angry when
Right.
somebody cuts us off in on the car or whatever. But it's really about how do you respond to it after that, and how long is that? Like, if somebody cuts you off and you're still thinking about that by the time you park 20 minutes later, you might want to consider, the way
Therapy.
you're approaching it.
No, yeah, that's that. Could you imagine waking up every morning and like making that part of your morning routine, like just getting angry?
You're hating.
That'd be kind of funny.
Yeah,
This is my secret.
yeah. If that's a secret to success, you can keep it.
Yeah.
exactly,
At least
no,
being
for
top
sure.
echelon. That's
Yeah.
kind of
I like
And
gratitude a little bit better.
yeah, I would much rather lean towards being grateful about what we've got. And we live in a beautiful world, and there is so much beauty. But if it's really about what you focus on, and if you're focusing on the negatives, or being angry, it's not that you can't use that to your benefit, but who are you gonna be inside? And
Mhm.
to me, that matters. And what you're you know what you're feeling like when you're laying down at night, and whatnot, is more important than any type of financial success that you really could get.
Yeah, that peace of mind so much, and it's impossible. I found it, at least for me, it's impossible for me to feel like sad and grateful at the same time.
Yeah, exactly,
Because no matter
exactly.
what's going on in my life, and I've had some things happen in my life, and we all have.
Yes.
But like, if you feel grateful by when you wake up, when you go to bed, and
Yeah.
that clears your mind, you're able to sleep. There's a beautiful thing to take inventory, no matter what it is. I mean, we live in the
100%.
United States, man. Like,
Yeah.
we are so blessed to be born here in this country, to
Oh.
start a business while working at Starbucks,
Yeah.
to start a business for $50 on the Secretary of State website.
Yeah.
It's just
Yeah.
such a bless. I'm 100% on board
Couldn't
with
agree with
that.
you more. I mean, I
Mhm.
walk into Costco and I'm just thinking, wow, look at this right here. We're so So we're living in a time where, like, if you were at any other time in history, if you were to go walk into a Costco and be able to just choose from the array of food and products that's out there, like any other time in history, it's just impossible.
Yeah.
And so it's hard to not be grateful, in my opinion, but it's also it does take conscious effort, because there's always a new problem, there's always a new challenge, and we're all human, we're all going through life, and different things are hitting us. So, but I agree, lean towards gratefulness.
Well, personal development's obviously a big part of entrepreneurship.
Yeah.
We're gonna face hardships. You've been through hardships. You're a business owner for 4 years.
Yeah.
We've all been through like extreme hardships, or giving up is definitely like in the back of your mind, probably. And I think a lot of it is how you handle those situations. And I think for you, like with your positive, I love your positive attitude. You're very infectious with your spirit and what you're bringing into this in this room.
Appreciate it.
So
Thank
for
you.
entrepreneurs who are out there, obviously hardships are going to come up. So you have any advice for them, as they're going through it? Because if they're feeling that way, obviously they're not the only one. In fact, it's the only way to success, right?
Yeah. I mean, I think when you're trying to encourage somebody, um, I think being realistic is important. So I think a lot of times people get into a business with unrealistic expectations of what it's going to be like, and therefore when those difficult times, you know, take place, they're not ready for it. So building up mental toughness, fortitude, grit, discipline, those are the things that are going to make you successful when it comes to running a business. Having a group of people who are also, heading towards a similar place. It doesn't have
Right.
to be within your company. It doesn't have to be, the same field or anything like that, but just other entrepreneurs that are able to, share experiences and talk about what they learned when they were going through a certain process is really neat. And you don't even have to necessarily know them personally. Like, that's the other thing. Like, you can learn so much from people that have already done it. Like we were talking about with like Alex Ramosi
Sure.
and Patrick,
Bet David.
Bet David,
Yeah.
Andy Frisella, like those guys. You don't have to actually be able to go out to dinner with them to be able to figure out what they learned throughout their 30 plus years of being an entrepreneur.
Right.
And so I would encourage anybody who's getting into a small business or thinking about running a business to really follow a lot of those guys and see what they've done, and also just know, like, it's gonna be hard. That's the fact of it, and that's the way it's supposed to be. It doesn't mean that you can't enjoy it, and it's purposeful. And maybe if somebody knows how to do it and it's not hard, let me know.
Yeah, for sure. Me too.
That's such a
But
true thing, man. And you are an inspiration for so many, because there are so many who are married or have a family and think they can't do it, and you are doing it.
yeah,
I mean, in fact, you were doing it while you were having your
yeah,
first child, right? Your daughter,
mhm,
like,
yeah,
and you had your second child during being a business owner as
yep,
well. That's a
yep. And
beautiful
I
thing
got
for.
another one due in March.
Oh,
So
that's
Oh,
awesome, man.
congratulations.
Congratulations, brother, for
Thank you.
sure. That is a beautiful thing, and that is a thing that I think holds up a lot of entrepreneurs as well. Is like, well, I already have a family. Like, how am I going to balance the boundaries of, having a family? But it sounds like you've figured it out in a lot of ways. You've met, so the business is in another place now. It's not necessarily in the garage anymore.
Yeah.
We're all human.
Yep.
Like, things are going to cross over, business is going to come up, and things are going to happen. But you're very inspiring. The fact that you've been able to do this with a family of almost 5 on
Yeah.
the way.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
that's a beautiful thing, man.
Well, thank you. Yeah, it's one of those things where my goal is um to not have balance. And what I mean by that is to be all in. So I'm not there yet, but that's what I strive for. So when I'm with my kids and when I'm, doing something with them, my goal is to be focused on what they're doing and be present. and then when I'm at work, being focused at what I'm doing with work. And I think the biggest challenge that I'm still facing is the cell phones, right? It's so
Yeah.
easy to just be,
Put it in the other room.
distracted. Yes. And so, I've had to start even, putting my cell phone completely in a different room or something like that, and knowing that it can wait, the next hour when I'm, playing, Play-Doh with my daughter, or
Yeah.
cars with my boy, or when we're going to the park or something like that. So, but yeah, I think you can do it, and I would encourage you. I think if it weren't for my family and my wife and my kids, I probably wouldn't be doing it, to be honest with you. It gives me purpose. It gives me a reason to do it. Like, I want my kids to look back and be like, "Man, look at what Dad was doing when we were just little, and he was going for it." And I want to inspire them to be able to go for whatever it is that they're passionate about, or with whatever they set their sights. And so, I think it gives me an unfair advantage to have my kids and to have my wife,
Mm.
which you won't hear a lot of people say that, because, quite honestly, probably going at it for the wrong reasons, which is selfishly. Um, and I think that if you're focused on others, you're going to be able to take it so much farther.
Mm-hmm.
That's my goal, is to be able to look back 5, 10, 15 years from now, and be sitting at a Thanksgiving dinner with my kids, or whatever, taking them on a fun trip or whatever, and them to see, oh, that's because Dad was going at it when we were little, and he wouldn't just be satisfied with something that was subpar. So yeah, I think that for me, it's an unfair advantage, and it's what really gives me that purpose and that desire to really go at it with everything I've got.
Yeah. Well said, friend.
I
for
love that
sure.
perspective. Yeah, that's interesting because for me, who doesn't have a wife or a kid, you'd think, you know, that would take away time from working on the business, but it actually gives you purpose to work on the business more, is what you're saying?
Yeah, yeah, and quite honestly, time is an interesting topic.
Yeah.
To be honest with you, it's not that we have a lack of time; it's that we don't manage our time correctly. And I'm not perfect at it, but that's what those are the
Yeah.
things that I'm trying to get better at every day. Is utilizing the time that I have for certain things in ways that are going to be beneficial
Mhm.
for that purpose. But yeah, I mean, I think if you pull out your cell phone and you looked at your weekly screen report, you'd realize that your time wasn't your issue. It was the
Exactly,
way
yeah.
that you're utilizing it.
Yeah, Hormozy or anyone else has had the same amount of time we've had every day, 24 hours in a day
Yeah,
is what they say.
yeah,
So,
exactly.
so yeah, so it's really how you use your time and how you manage your time. And it's those two things is where you can grow your business or not grow your business. You
Yeah.
know.
And I mean, it's also, and I mean, the other thing that I've learned, and that again, it's a difficult part of entrepreneurship, but um, saying no
Yeah.
is
Mhm.
super important.
I've been working on that one myself.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah, it's a
right.
hard one.
I actually saw this cool study, and it was this guy. Well, I don't know if it was a study, but it was a story. And this guy was building a bridge with his son, and it was lopsided, and one side was taller than the other, and they were using Legos. And he thought, well, let's fix this. And his immediate response was to go find some more Legos, and bring the other side up to the other level.
Uh-huh.
And while he went and searched for the Legos, his son actually took out Legos on the other side and brought it to that level that way. And he then did that same experience with a bunch of other people, and every single adult seemed to think, "Oh, we need to add more Legos into this equation in order to make it better." When the reality of it is, no, you actually need to remove stuff in order to make it better.
That's a
I
good
like
point,
that. Yeah.
especially with your time, huh?
Mm-hmm.
This has been an awesome interview. Thank you so much
Yeah.
for coming on. This is awesome,
I
man.
appreciate having me.
I appreciate your mindset, your way of you look at things. It's been really inspiring to see that you've been able to manage this with a family. In fact, it's inspired you to be a better man, to give you purpose to do what you do on an everyday basis. That you embody
Yeah.
this whole business not only by
Yeah.
growing a mustache and sporting a mustache, but like doing world records and going to Germany. Like
Yeah.
you are living and breathing the brand. I feel like you're totally embodying, going full on both things in your life, family, all aspects of your life. And
Yeah.
it's really cool to see. So for our viewers, where can we find you first and foremost? And is there anything else coming up for your brand? Feel free to give it a shout out.
Yeah. All right, guys, you can find me at Death Grip Wax on all social media platforms. Deathgripwax.com is our website where we sell all of our products. You can also find us on Amazon. Search Death Grip on Amazon. So yeah, I hope you guys connect with me. Send us a DM. We'd love to hear your mustache story or your grooming story or just something that you maybe learned from this podcast.
All right. Well, this has been the COS Business Podcast, and we'll see you guys on the next one.
Hey guys, thanks for having me.
Awesome.
you.
This was great, bro.
Yeah, I appreciate it.